Yo, what's up everybody, it's your boy Elvius Void coming back with another video on the channel, which is what if Naruto had the Rinnegan. So this was up on a poll 3 days ago, and for all my what ifs I'll be doing like polls and stuff for you guys to decide which what ifs you actually like, and more than 50% of you guys voted for this one. So yeah, for this to actually work and make sense in the actual Naruto story, Naruto will have to awaken the Rinnegan at some point, which I'll be placing it at his birth, with Hogoromo during the sealing of the Nine Tails would have given him some of his chakra, and seeing the kind of future, as Hogoromo can kind of see the future and predict things, that Naruto will probably need this, will need the Rinnegan to complete the Child of Prophecy. So yeah, we'll just begin the story right now. But before we do though, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe button, as well as put a comment down below, as it really does help with the analytics in YouTube to see more videos up in your feed. So without further ado, let's just get right into the what if. We start at the birth of Naruto, with Kushina and Minato having, the birthing outside of Konoha in a isolated area, as, the Nine Tails has weakening the seal during the birth of Naruto. They would decide to do it on an off-site location. Again, Obito would come into the picture masking as Madara Uchiha and would try to steal the baby Naruto and place a whole bunch of bombs on him, and Minato would save the day and, save Kushina, but Obito would get his hands on her and release the Nine Tails and putting it into a summoning pack and releasing it in the village. Minato would have to save the village and ultimately defeat Obito, as well as seal half the Nine Tails inside of himself, and again the other half into Naruto. But as Minato and Kushina are dying and basically dead at this point, Hogoromo would appear as a ghostly presence, not allowing anybody to see him. He would walk over to Naruto, seeing that Naruto is obviously the Child of Prophecy, someone that will bring together his children, that being the 9 Biju, and bring peace to this world. Knowing that Naruto is, the Child of Prophecy, he will decide to give Naruto some of his chakra and help him awaken the Rinnegan, without having to go through the whole steps of having the Sharingan, Mangekyo Sharingan as a prerequisite. He would automatically awaken the Rinnegan, changing his bright blue eyes to that of purple ringed ones. So yeah, with Naruto being born, the third Hokage, Hiruzen, would come into the picture, seeing Kushina, and would hear the final words of her, saying that the boy is named Naruto and to take very good care of him. With Hiruzen agreeing to this, he would take baby Naruto and would open the boy's eyes to see if he's, still alive, honestly, and would see the purple eyes and would immediately have a chill go down his spine, as the presence and stare of these eyes is unlike anything else he's ever felt, ever. We'll skip about, a few weeks later, with Hiruzen, who has now the information about these eyes, and from the information that Jiraiya had gotten a few years back in the Land of Rain, he would know that these eyes are the exact same as the Rinnegan, and would have to inform Jiraiya of this, as Naruto is his godchild and most probably could be the Child of Prophecy he has been speaking about. With Jiraiya coming back to the village while Naruto is still only a few weeks old, and the village not knowing of Naruto's heritage or his jailment, he would see Naruto's eyes and immediately realize that this is the Rinnegan and would match exactly with Nagato's. With him, already thinking that Nagato is dead, he would assume that Naruto would be the next Child of Prophecy and what he had thought Nagato would have been. Jiraiya would, at this point, not be a, kind of asshole like he was in the original, and take up his godfather duties. As well as Hiruzen being an actual competent Hokage, he wouldn't release the information about the jailment of Naruto and the Nine Tails inside of him. With no information about the Nine Tails and Naruto, the village wouldn't know where the Nine Tails was and would assume that Minato had killed the beast, dragging him straight to hell. With Jiraiya now realizing that Naruto, if any of this information did get leaked, he would decide to take Naruto out the village and raise him, as he does need to do his off-site location, spying job as a ninja. And with Naruto as well being with him, he'll probably teach him a few things and help in the raising of Naruto so that you have a family, so to speak, or basically just a pervy dad. With Naruto now 1 week old, he would leave the village with Jiraiya for him to be in 100% care of him. We'll now have a 6-year time skip. With Naruto now being 6 years old and being trained by Jiraiya, Jiraiya would have instilled a lot of ninja techniques into Naruto, that being a proper taijutsu style, as well as a whole bunch of ninjutsu, as he knows that Naruto has all 5 chakra natures, as the Rinnegan supplies the 5 chakra natures automatically, as he knows this from his past training apprentice, Nagato, as he also once had the Rinnegan, but is now, dead in his eyes, or he thinks he's dead. With Naruto, on his 6th birthday, would be trying to be taught the animal path, or not the animal, the summoning jutsu of the toads by Jiraiya. But with Jiraiya trying to teach Naruto the summoning hand seals to summon the toads, Naruto would use the animal path and immediately summon in a giant snake-tailed chameleon, which would shock Jiraiya greatly. Naruto would say, getting this information from the back of his mind in general, that this is the animal path, and he's able to summon a various amount of creatures at will, and wouldn't need to use the normal summoning seals that Jiraiya has to do, as this is something that just comes to the mind of Naruto. With Jiraiya finding this out, he'd ask Naruto if he knows any more other paths or powers of the Rinnegan that have been given to him, as this is something much different to what Nagato had shown when he was training him. Naruto would say that there's not much that he can really think of, as he doesn't really know how he knew about the animal path, and would say that he kind of thinks of the Deva path, not knowing what it means. He would kind of say that it's something like telekinesis in a way, but doesn't know how to properly activate and use these jutsus. With the next 6 years, we'll have another 6 years time skip. During that time back at the village, the council would be going on about where the Ninetales has been and where the Ninetales is at this moment, with Danzo really pushing Hiruzen to find out where the Ninetales is, if Minato had killed the Ninetales, if the Ninetales was going to reappear somewhere in the village, he would have to make arrangements to seal the beast somewhere else. Hiruzen would calm down everyone, saying that the Ninetales was sealed into someone, and that someone is being trained by someone very skilled. Danzo would immediately know who this is, as he knows that Jiraiya the Sannin had come into the village on the day of the Kyuubi's attack, and had taken a young boy with bright red hair, something that had a massive trait with the Uzumakis. I forgot to say that Naruto does have red hair in this what if. He would really immediately know that that boy is the Ninetales Jinchuriki, and he's outside of Konoha? How dare that asset be taken outside of Konoha? The third Hokage, Hiruzen, needs to pay for this. He would immediately shout out the name of the boy, Naruto, as he had gotten information from, his different Anbu, as well as knowing this, as this was something to be known, that Jiraiya had taken a boy out the village on the day of the Kyuubi attack, and did have the last name Uzumaki, and knowing that the only Uzumaki in the village, Kushina, had been staying around Minato, he would immediately realize that Naruto is the Ninetales Jinchuriki, as well as the son of the 4th Hokage and Kushina Uzumaki. With Hiruzen, he would speak this out loud, not really, he's just speaking his thoughts, and the council would go mad, realizing that the 4th Hokage had a son. This is only, none of the civilian council members, but only the clan members, as this was a clan members meeting with his with Hiruzen's advisors. That's the word. With the council not knowing of Naruto's heritage and the burden that he has, some of the members, that being the non-intellectuals, would say that Naruto needs to die even if he is the 4th Hokage's son, and the beast needs to go down with him. Hiruzen would calm everyone down, saying that Naruto is not the Ninetales itself, and if Naruto was to die, the beast would be reformed out of Naruto's body and would most probably wreak havoc on the village as a retaliation of sealing it into someone. With that being said, all that would go off calmly, but Danzo would make preparations to get the boy in his route at a later time. With Naruto now 12 years old now, with the 6-year time skip, he would have learnt a lot of things about the Rinnegan. He would have learnt the Diva Path and would have been able to use the magnetic-like abilities, that being to physically repel and attract targets or enemies, or multiple in fact, with relative ease, and realize that there is a 5-second time delay on, time cooldown on each use of the jutsu. He'd also realize about the Praetor Path, as training with Jiraiya, he'd be able to absorb anything chakra involved into himself, such as when Jiraiya had launched a fireball jutsu at him and he had easily been able to absorb all of it. With Naruto also mastering the animal path, he would also start to learn the Ashra path, being able to make his body and mechanize it and have a whole bunch of different abilities and weapons like the laser gun and just guns in general, tanks, or not really tanks but missiles, and all types of parts of his body. Naruto would not fully know of the human path or the Naraka path at this moment, as he hasn't really done anything to need those two parts of the Rinnegan at this time, as he's not ripping on anyone's souls, nor is he trying to heal anybody at this time or interrogate anybody, so that type of information wouldn't be going into Naruto's head. But with all the physical fighting type abilities, that would go into Naruto's mind, as training with a Rinnegan as well as training with Jiraiya had allowed him to awaken these abilities. Naruto's physical abilities will be on a much greater level than it was in the original. With being properly trained from a young age, Naruto would have high Jonin and probably surpassing it at this point of a 12-year-old, and would have all the ninjutsu and stuff to even surpass everybody as a Jonin, and would be reaching the Kage levels, as with the Rinnegan, Jiraiya wouldn't be able to stand a lot of chance against Naruto, with Naruto having the literal Nine Tails inside of him, and all the chakra that the Nine Tails tries to leak out into the seal to weaken and rust the seal. It's just getting immediately absorbed into the Praetor Path, and after a while, the Nine Tails Kurama would immediately realize that Naruto has the chakra of his father, Hogoromo, and would stop trying to corrode the seal and would start to have some time to think about what's happening and who this boy is and how he has the chakra of his father. With Naruto, who has absorbed a lot of the Nine Tails chakra, as all that stuff that leaked out of the seal and cage, he'd be able to use that with, relative ease, as it is kind of his chakra right now. Yeah, and that's pretty much Naruto, with him having probably high Kage levels of power and raw output and, skill in that wise. With Naruto now 12 years old, Jiraiya would say that he needs to take Naruto back to Konoha to live his life there and to become a ninja there, as that's what Naruto wanted to be. Jiraiya would have instilled the will of fire into Naruto and told him all the cool things of being a Hokage. Naruto not knowing what a Hokage is, but hearing all the cool stuff that the Hokage is to the people, he'd immediately want to become the Hokage and get this fascination with becoming the Hokage, not with any real reason or, intent, but just because it sounded cool. And his father, which, he would be his father, Jiraiya, as it is his godfather, and someone that raised him from, his birth, would obviously be talking cool stuff about it, so he'd obviously want to do it, as it is influencing him a great ton. Jiraiya wouldn't want Naruto to become a Hokage, but because Naruto was the son of the fourth Hokage, and does now have this aspiration and the strength to become him, there's nothing real stopping Naruto, and he can do whatever he wants. With Naruto as well, having being massively influenced by Jiraiya, he would be very cheeky and have a massive pervy side to him, as during all this time of Naruto's childhood, he would have been not really pressured, but he would have been shown a lot of very sexual stuff by Jiraiya, that being his Ichi Ichi Paradise books and all the other stuff like peeving on the unsuspecting ladies. He would have been shown all this stuff from a young age and would have picked up on it very easily, as he is very kind of easy to manipulate in that way. But with Naruto not going back to the village, Jiraiya would drop him off saying that he needs to go do some secret spying for the village and that he'll be back in, a year or two, depending on how the mission goes. Naruto would not want to leave Jiraiya, asking if he can just go with him, but Jiraiya would say that he needs to go and meet all the other Genin here at the village and the academy members, as you'll be going to the academy for the last year. Naruto would immediately get annoyed as he's far above a Genin. He's even far above him, a Sannin, and probably above the Hokage of this village at this moment. He doesn't want to be stuck around petty Genin. But with Jiraiya pestering Naruto, saying that he needs to go, Naruto should just stay in the village. Hiruzen would come as well and would start to talk to Naruto, getting to know the boy as he is his successor's son and someone that seems to want to become the Hokage himself. He would start to have a great relationship with Naruto, with the Nine Tails not being really known by a lot of the villagers and where it went. They would all assume that Minato had dragged the beast down to hell and wouldn't suspect anything of Naruto. But with Naruto coming into the village and having bright red hair and seemingly glowing purple eyes, they would get a little intimidated by Naruto, not knowing who he was and would never have seen him before, so obviously this is something that would kind of put them on edge. Naruto, after getting, told by the third Hokage what will be happening in the 1 year that he is kind of in the academy, he would explain who his sensei is and who the other Genin in the academy are, well not Genin, or the academy students are in the academy at this moment, and would be tasked with giving a little letter to Iruka when he goes into the classroom to inform Iruka of the arrangements of Naruto. With all that being done and dusted, Naruto would make his way to the classroom, in which he would open it, giving the letter to Iruka. And with Iruka seeing the stamp of the Hokage, he would start to read it and realize that Naruto is a very special boy, being trained by the legendary Sannin and basically the son of him. He would immediately tell the students that this is Naruto Uzumaki and he'll be here for the last remaining year of the academy before he becomes a Genin. The class would immediately look at Naruto and see his bright, powerful purple eyes and would get a little intimidated by it, but with Naruto cheekily smiling, saying, "Hello, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm going to become the strongest Hokage ever," the class would be put to ease, as Naruto seems to be very upright about pretty much everything and his introduction. During the 1 year, Naruto would have made friends with pretty much everyone in the class, except for one Buri Uchiha, which you'll probably know who that is. And with Naruto making friends with everyone in the village in total, as they had gotten used to Naruto and his purple eyes, they'd asked Naruto what his eyes are. Naruto would say that this is a dojutsu, the Rinnegan, and with the senseis, that being Iruka and Mizuki, picking up on this, Mizuki would immediately know what this is, and from his talkings with Orochimaru, he would know that the leader of the Akatsuki has the Rinnegan. He would immediately need to inform Orochimaru of this fact, that a boy, someone in the academy, has the Rinnegan, and he could probably take him on, as he thinks, and could probably take the Rinnegan for himself, and become the new god of this world. But obviously that's not going to happen, as Naruto is way above Mizuki's skills. With the year going around pretty smoothly, Naruto would have known all the jutsus already that are needed to pass the academy, that being the transformation jutsu, the clone jutsu, as well as the substitution jutsu. Naruto's clone jutsu wouldn't be the regular clone jutsu that are given, which is basically illusions, but instead would have been taught the normal shadow clone jutsu, as well as the other elemental or chakra nature jutsu, clone jutsus like the Earth clone jutsu, lightning clone, all that type of stuff. So basically Naruto has a wide range of different clones that he could definitely use, and with his wider range of different ninjutsu that he can use, as he does have all chakra natures, the tests wouldn't be really difficult for him. Naruto would now pass the Genin exam, and with all the original other people passing the original exams, there wouldn't be much difference. With Mizuki, who throughout the years, or throughout the 1 year that he's known Naruto, he thinks that Naruto is extremely weak. From what he's shown, as Naruto doesn't seem to be showing any type of skill whatsoever, always wanting to not participate in the fightings, and only has intelligence on his side. Naruto, however, is not using his physical attributes, as he doesn't want to kill these genin, as imagine what the third Hokage and Jiraiya would say about this. Him one-shotting every genin here, it would be a bloodbath. Something that he doesn't really want to get into, and would usually just decide to not participate in the fighting matches. A lot of the students would think that Naruto is physically weak and doesn't want to participate in anything. They would all think that Naruto is pretty weak, and because of Naruto not participating in all this, he'd be placed in the dead last position. Iruka would know otherwise of this, as he has seen Naruto showing off his power by himself, and Naruto and Iruka would have gone in a much better relationship, being a brother to Naruto in that type of sense, like the original. But now, because Naruto has passed the Genin exam, Mizuki would have to figure out a different way to get to Naruto. He'd walk over to Naruto, as Naruto is swinging on the swings, as Jiraiya still isn't back in the village, and is always just alone in the village right now, as all the other Genin have went to their families to either celebrate or be saddened of the failing of the Genin exam. Mizuki would walk up to Naruto, saying that that isn't the finished task of becoming a Genin, and he needs to do something about stealth-wise to steal the Scroll of Sealing and to bring it to him in the Forest of Death to fully become a Genin and get extra marks to become higher up in the Genin tier list. With Naruto already knowing that this is a complete lie, he would tell Mizuki that he'll do it, of course, as he doesn't want to show any type of him knowing that this is a lie. Mizuki would think that he's got Naruto and that he was dumber than he expected, and would walk off, relishing in his absolute victory of mind games with Naruto. Naruto, going to the Hokage Tower, he would explain what just happened, and Mizuki is a traitor to the village, telling him to steal the Scroll of Sealings. Hiruzen would not really believe this, but with Naruto being the one giving the information, he would have to believe it, as this is something of great importance, and if Naruto is saying it, being a literal god at this point, there is not much to say or do about it. Naruto would say that he can take care of him if he wants, and there's no need to get a lot of people in this, and he'll just, bring him in. Not going to kill him, obviously, because, he's Naruto. He doesn't kill. With Naruto and Hiruzen agreeing on this, Naruto would go off and wait in the Forest of Death for Mizuki to arrive. With a couple hours going past and Naruto seemingly sleeping underneath a tree, Mizuki would appear, landing on a tree branch, asking where the Scroll of Sealing is and why Naruto is not, or doesn't have the Scroll of Sealings, as what he can see. Naruto would say that of course he doesn't have the Scroll of Sealings, as that's literal treason, and that he'll just be taking care of Mizuki and sending him to Ibiki to be interrogated about who his master is. Mizuki would smirk and would start to laugh to himself, saying how a Genin, a fresh Genin at that, someone that was dead last in all the fighting tasks in the academy, could dare beat him, a Chunin, a god among men apparently, but from his point of view. Mizuki would immediately rush at Naruto, thinking that this would be an easy victory, but the second Mizuki does leap at him, Naruto immediately used the Diva Path and attract Mizuki right to him, bringing him with such velocity that he would slam into the tree, destroying it, smashing it to many pieces with many other tree branches and bits of the actual tree, the trunk of it would blow apart. Mizuki would be immediately knocked out, and Naruto would grab him, taking him to Ibiki to be interrogated once he wakes up. With Naruto going back to the third Hokage, he would say that it's done, with Hiruzen already knowing, looking at his crystal ball and pointing at it, showing Naruto that he already knows about, pretty much everything in the village at this time. Naruto would say, he should get paid for this, as that was a Chunin that he did fight. But Hiruzen would say that, of course he'll be paid, that, he is a Chunin and Naruto is a new fresh Genin, knowing all the different parts of being a ninja from the training from Jiraiya, he'd be given his payment of a A-rank mission. Being generous, of course, with that. With the next week going by, Naruto would come back to the academy with all the other Genin, and would sit next to Hinata as well as Shikamaru, as they had become great friends over the few years. Hinata would not have her same crush with Naruto, as Naruto didn't save her from anything in the original, as Naruto wasn't even in the village, but instead would like Naruto as a friend, as he is very kind and caring as well as funny in her eyes, and would see him as a very great friend. With Naruto sitting down, he would wait for Iruka to come into the building, and when Iruka does, he would explain that Mizuki was a traitor to the village, and wouldn't speak about anything more, going into who will be in the teams now. Everything would go in the original. Naruto would be placed in Team 7 with Sasuke and Sakura, and because of this, Naruto would be pissed off, as he doesn't really like Sakura, as in his eyes, she isn't very good looking with her massive forehead and all, and Sasuke being a literal brooding boy, there wouldn't be much to him either. Naruto would still be, the Asha reincarnation, Sasuke the Indra, but, he still sees Sasuke as a bit of annoyance, someone that, he's already surpassed in every single way. In Sasuke's point of view, Naruto is someone that he needs to get over, a hurdle that is always in his way, as he's always getting first place in all the tests, and whenever he tries to fight Naruto, whenever he, doesn't want to fight him in the Genin, the academy tests, Naruto always brushes him off, seemingly acting all high and mighty, and acts as if he can kill him in a second, which obviously he probably can. Sasuke would still be brooding, and with Kakashi being their sensei, would have to wait a couple of hours until he arrives, and all the Genin would go with their respective jonins. With Kakashi, after a few hours arriving to meet his new team, he would see the three and immediately notice Naruto, seemingly have the facial structure of Minato, but the hair of his mother, Kushina, someone that he did find very dear to himself, seeing as a mother-type figure, as Kakashi didn't have a mother in his life, only his father, who, offed himself. Anyway, with Naruto seeing Kakashi, he would immediately realize that he does seem pretty strong, and definitely is a jonin of the village. With Kakashi saying to meet him on the rooftop of this building, he would immediately poof into smoke, as Naruto had seen that this was a clone, and would immediately run off through the window, and would use chakra control to run up the side of the building, and would meet Kakashi there. Both Sasuke and Sakura would be super confused, as Naruto just jumped out of the wall and ran up it. Like, what? They didn't know that was possible, and so they just ran up the regular way, going up the stairs and up and opening the door of the rooftop. And he would see both Naruto and Kakashi just sitting there in silence. With them sitting down, they would all go into the original type of talks, with Sasuke being the same, Sakura being the same, except, minus hating Naruto, as Naruto isn't constantly asking her for dates, and Naruto would be the exact same, or kind of the exact same. He would say that he likes pretty much everything, and doesn't really dislike anything. His goals would still be to become the Hokage and whatnot, and Kakashi would say that his name is just Kakashi, leaving it there. With that pretty much being said, Kakashi would say that they're going to be doing a proper Genin test tomorrow, which is a survival test, and would tell the three not to eat any breakfast that day, as they're going to puke it out. With Kakashi now leaving, the three would be now left alone in silence, and they would all go their separate ways, but mainly Naruto going his separate ways, as Sakura is asking Sasuke to go on a date with her, as she's constantly pestering Sasuke for that date to become her lover. But with Sasuke only having one thing on his mind, murder of his brother, he wouldn't be wanting to have a relationship with anybody at all in the village, as this would slow him down in his ambitions. With that being said, the next day would come around, and Naruto had eaten breakfast, as he had learned from Jiraiya that, every day you should eat breakfast no matter what, and it would disregard Kakashi's input to the situation. And Naruto would eat his breakfast and go off to the grounds, the training grounds, on which he would see Sasuke and Sakura, with Sakura and hearts in her eyes, asking Sasuke and pestering him for another date. He would immediately say hello to the two, with Sasuke giving him a grunt, and Sakura telling him to go away, and he's messing with her Sasuke time. With them all just sitting down now, and Sakura trying to get close to Sasuke, Kakashi would arrive 3 hours later, and would give an excuse of he saw a black cat and had to go on a different way here. With everyone getting annoyed at this, they would try to say something, but Kakashi would cut them off, saying that they'll be doing the test now, and would show off the 2 bells, saying that they will need to get the bells in an hour's time, or else they fail. And Naruto would point out that there's only 2 bells there at this moment, and Kakashi would say that, of course, one of them will going back to the academy, no matter the outcome of this test. Sakura would immediately say that's unfair, but wouldn't go any further, as she thinks that she's stronger than Naruto, as Naruto is the dead last in the academy, only being smart and not physically strong in her eyes, as Naruto did not once fight any of the academy students or genin now in the academy, and thought that he was just a wuss. With that being now said, Kakashi would immediately start the match, but wouldn't notice something happening on his belt. Naruto, as soon as the test had gone, would have used the Diva Path and would have attracted the bells to him, and immediately have gotten the 2 bells, but wanting to play along with this entire situation, he would launch himself into the bushes and would go for a quick nap. With that being said, Kakashi wouldn't know the difference at all, as he didn't feel the bells getting taken from him, and he wouldn't have the need to check for them, as he didn't see them take it at all. Sasuke and Sakura would head into the bushes as well, and would realize that Naruto was extremely fast and had gotten there much before them, and they only really saw a blur. But with them thinking not much of it, as they are still very stupid, they would just go into the bushes, and Sasuke would try to think of a plan on how he can get the bells all for himself and leave the Dobby and the annoying girl to go back to the academy and have his one-on-one sessions with Kakashi. With them all trying to get the bells, Sasuke would immediately launch out of the bushes and try to fight Kakashi on a one-on-one, with Kakashi just reading his pervy book, that being the Ichi Paradise. He would block all of Sasuke's blows, and with Sasuke then releasing a fireball jutsu, Kakashi would realize that this is an extremely, hard task for a fresh genin to pull off, and would compliment Sasuke on it. Sasuke now getting an ego boost, as their sensei had just complimented them. He would go for the bells, but would realize that the bells aren't there. Where are they? Kakashi said that they'd be on his belt, but they're obviously not there. Sasuke would stop in his place and would tell Kakashi that he's not being truthful in how he's going and running the test, as the bells aren't even there. Kakashi would immediately check his belt and would realize that the bells really aren't there, and it wasn't a trick that Sasuke was trying to pull on him. Sakura would come up behind Kakashi, as Kakashi had sensed her but didn't want to do anything, and she would try to punch Kakashi, but with one swift movement, Kakashi backhand slapped her, launching her into the ground, and she would start to cry. Naruto, from the bushes, watching this all, would start to laugh to himself, chuckling, as that was pretty funny for him, as he had just now seen a annoying girl be put in her place. With nobody knowing where the bells are, that being Sasuke, Kakashi, and Sakura, they would go and see Naruto twirling the bells around his finger, walking slowly towards them. All of them would be wide-eyed, wondering what and how Naruto had gotten the bells. They would immediately ask Naruto, and he said he got the bells the moment the test began. Kakashi would ask how he did it, and Naruto would just say that it's a technique of his eyes, being the Diva Path, and would explain to the team that he's able to control the magnetic abilities as repelling and attracting targets at will, and can seemingly do it all the time, and doesn't really take a lot of chakra out of him. The team would immediately be wide-eyed, as this is a really overpowered skill, and that'd pretty much be the end of the test. Kakashi would ask who he's going to give his second bell to, but Naruto would just hand both the bells to Sasuke and Sakura, saying that doesn't really need to be a genin, and he would just leave to go on an apprenticeship with his father, Jiraiya. Kakashi would see that this is a massive problem, as failing the team means that they're failing a literal god and the Uchiha prodigy, apparently, according to everyone else, and would have to pass the team, as they didn't really use teamwork, but Naruto giving the bells to the two did show a bit of teamwork in his eyes, and would pass the team, saying that they are now officially Team 7 of Konoha. With the next week now going to the original, they would just be doing D-rank missions, but with Naruto being extremely bored of all these missions, he would ask the third Hokage for a high rank mission, maybe an S-rank mission for him to take on, but Kakashi would say that that's way out of their league, but Naruto would say that there's not much difference to what Naruto was doing with Jiraiya. The third Hokage would explain to Naruto that he does have teammates now and a sensei, and would have to take a lower rank mission, and he would say that Naruto can just take this C rank mission, which is to protect a bridge builder, Tazuna. Tazuna would walk into the building, into the room, and would greet everyone, but because he's drunk, he would start to rant off to the 3 Genin, saying that the pink-haired girl looks extremely ugly, and he can obviously see her massive forehead. Sakura would immediately get angry and try to punch the bridge builder, but Tazuna would slap her in the face, launching her onto the ground, and would start to laugh. He would then point to Sasuke, saying that he looks like an emo freak, and would again laugh at him. Looking at Naruto, he's about to say something, but he would stare into Naruto's eyes and see a piercing glow shine right back at him, and would say that Naruto, no, he looks pretty cool, and wouldn't say anything more. He would say that this is okay, and these team look pretty strong, and they should go on their way to the Land of Waves. With the team now being set off, they would all head off to the Land of Waves, leaving Konoha and going on their merry way. But with Naruto being able to kind of see chakra all the time, he'd see the puddle and can see the 2 people inside, and as soon as he sees it, he would use the Diva Path and would repel using the Shinra Tensei, or the almighty push, and would launch the 2 far away and would immediately kill them, as the blast had destroyed a lot of the area. All 4 of the people behind him, Sasuke, Sakura, Tazuna, as well as Kakashi, would be wide-eyed, as Naruto's power and raw output there was crazy, and they would ask Naruto what that was. Naruto would explain that that's the Diva Path, as he had explained before, and he can amp up the amount of force that he blows out. But looking at where Naruto just used it, all the trees in the general area had been completely destroyed, and all the landscape around them had been destroyed as well, and there are massive craters, and all the trees are just gone. They're just not there anymore. Naruto would say that they should go, as the 2 people there are probably dead, and they should just walk off now. Naruto and Team 7 would all walk off, and Tazuna would start to ask Naruto how he's this strong, with Naruto saying that he's just built different. They would all continue walking and go on the boat and cross the large water to the Land of Waves. But once they're gone to the other side, Naruto would see a giant sword going their way and would use the Diva Path to repel the sword away from him, launching it into the water far away from them. Zabuza would have, jumped before he had launched the sword and would be aiming to land on the sword, but he would notice that the sword isn't there, and would have seen that the sword just went flying away, seemingly from an invisible force. Zabuza would immediately ask what the hell just happened, and Naruto would say that he's over, and would use the Diva Path and would attract Zabuza towards him, and would use the human path and rip out Zabuza's soul immediately. With the scream of Tazuna's soul being yanked from his body, all the team would be terrified even more, as they just see Naruto rip out someone's literal soul. With Haku as well, looking and seeing his master, or someone that he sees as a father, had just been killed, very easily in fact, he would immediately launch into action, using his ice release to try and attack Naruto, but Naruto had used his Predator Path and would have absorbed all the ice jutsu. And again, the team would go wide-eyed as Naruto just absorbed literal chakra. Naruto would use the Diva Path and would attract Haku, saying almighty pull, and would pull him towards him, and would again use the human path to rip out her soul, killing him, I keep on saying her, immediately. Continuing on with the two now dead, they would walk off to Tazuna's home and would be greeted by his daughter and grandson and would have dinner there. The next day, Team 7, led by Kakashi, would try to teach the team chakra control, but with Naruto already knowing all sorts of chakra control, having, pretty much perfect chakra control at this point, he wouldn't have the need to learn anything more, and there would just be mainly Sasuke and Sakura. But with Sakura, who does have the pretty perfect chakra control, it would get on Sasuke's nerves, and she would be slapped in the face, being launched into the ground by Sasuke, as he was annoyed by Sakura's prodiginess in chakra control. Sasuke would then later learn it after a few hours of practicing going up to the tree, and would get it on lock, and would learn or master tree walking. The next day, after that little training trip, all the team would go off to the bridge in which Tazuna is building. But while they're building the bridge, Gato and his men would seemingly appear on the bridge. Naruto would see this and ask what Gato is doing there, with Tazuna explaining who Gato is, as he didn't really get much he didn't really have to explain anything, as Naruto did take care of all the other people with relative ease. He would explain that Gato is someone that's terrorizing the village or the little town that they're in, and Naruto, seeing this as a massive problem, would use the almighty pull and would pull everybody that is from Gato and his men, and would pull them all the way, launching them into the water for them to all seemingly just drown. With Gato now being defeated and Naruto doing all the heavy lifting in the Land of Waves arc, the bridge would be named the Great Naruto Bridge. With that being pretty much done, they would all get back to the village, as the Land of Waves mission is now complete. Going back to the village, Naruto would see Hiruzen and would immediately ask for payment of the mission, and he would be paid with, relative ease. So that's where I'm going to leave this off, guys. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys later.